what is a bar graph or bar diagram. So here we have two bar graphs. This is one, this is the second one. Now, in telemarks representation, we use telemarks to represent any number. In case of pictograph, we use pictures to represent our information, to show the information. Similarly, as the name suggests, in bar graph or bar diagram, we use bars. And these are those bars. And because of these bars, the name is bar graph or bar diagram. So the first thing that we do in making any bar graph or bar diagram is these two perpendicular lines in a single graph. Perpendicular lines means that they are at the right angle. So this line and another line, these are at perpendicular angle, and these two lines are also at the perpendicular angle or at the right angle. And these are the bars. Now, the bars that we use in a single graph, that is, this is one graph and it is another graph. So the width of these bars, that is the width of this one, and the width of this one. The width of each bars should be equal. That's a way to, show our information. So whenever you are making any graph or bar diagram, always remember that your width of each bars should be equal. In this case, the width of this one should be equal to this one and should be equal to this one. Okay, that is point number 2. Point number 3 is that the bars can be placed horizontally, like in this case these 3 bars are placed horizontally, or they can be placed vertically, like in this graph, this first bar, the second bar and the third bar, these bars have been placed vertically. Okay, so these are 3 important points that we need to remember while drawing bar graph or bar diagram. Now, in order to understand them properly, let's take one example. So here we have this table that shows months: May, June, July, August, September, and the car sales in each of these months. That is, in May it's 200, in June 300, in July 100, in August 400, in September it's 300. If we have to represent this, we have to show this information to our readers using bar graph, then how we will do this? Let's take the bar graph and let me explain you. So I have to show that in the months of May, June, July, August, September, what were the car sales? So the first point is draw vertical lines. So this is two vertical lines. So these are two perpendicular lines. And if I have to represent, if we have to represent this data, so this is what? This is months. So if I write May here, May, then June, then July, then August, and then September. Okay, so May, June, July, August and September. Now this means what? Months. And on this line we will show or will represent these values, that is all values of the car sales or the numerals of the car sales. So these numerals represent what? Car sales. So on this line car sales will come. Car sales, that is the number that these numerals represent, will be shown here. Now you can clearly see that it is 200, then 300, then 100, then 400, then 300. So if I, starting from here, I have to draw these numerals. So let me draw first 100, and then I'll draw 200, and then I'll draw 300, and then I'll draw 400, then I'll draw 500, and then I'll draw 600, and that's sufficient to show this information. Now the most important thing is that if you remember, in the case of number line, we saw that how on a number line we place the numbers at an equal distance, right? At an equal distance, that is, a unit length should be same, if you remember that. That is, if we have this number line, then if our 0 is here, then 1 is here, then 2 is here, then 3 is here, then 4 is here. So this distance between the unit length should be equal, right? That's the basic of number lines. And same thing will be in case of here when we are representing numbers, that is this information. So these unit lengths are equal. The unit length is equal. If you have to take it from, if you consider 0, that is, this point is 0, then 0, then 100, then 200, then 300, then 400, then 500, then 600. It can't be like this one. Like if we assume that it's 0 here, if we assume that 0 here, okay, so if it is 0 here, then the first point is 100, then it can't be like you'll place here, then 150, and then 1000, and then 2000. It can't be like that. It should be, the unit length should be same. Like imagine that between 0 or 100 you have to take 100 gems. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you'll take 100 gems, then you'll reach 100. Then another 100 gems you'll reach to 200. Then another 100 gems you'll reach to 300, and similar fashion, in a similar fashion. Okay, so this is the important thing, that the unit length should be same. The unit length should be same. In this case it's of 100, right? If it was like this one, if it was 0, then 1, then 2, then 3, then 4. In this case the unit length is how much? It's 1, right? If it was in this way, that it was 0, then 5, then 10, then 15, then 20. In this case, what's the unit length? It is of 5. If it was in this fashion, like if it was 0, then 50, then 100, then 150, then 200, then 250, then 300. So each unit length, what's the unit length? Is of 50. 50, then 100, then 150, then 200, then 250, then 300. So that's what a unit length is. You have to tell the unit length should be same, and in this case we have unit length of how much? Of 100. And that exactly, and that is called, you know what, scale of any graph. In this case the unit length is of 100, and this is what called as scale of any bar graph or bar diagram. Always remember this term, scale. This scale shows the unit length, and that is what, in this case it is 100. 0 to 100, then 100 to 200, then 200 to 300, then 300 to 400. Okay. Now, in the month of May, what's the car sale? It's 200, right? So just to explain you, if I take this dotted line like this, just to explain you, you need not to draw this, but I want to explain you that I have to deal with this number 200. And if I draw a bar here for this month of May, Okay, and if I want, then I can draw it like this, just to make a bar look more attractive. So this, for the month of May, we have sale of what? 200. Okay, then for the month of June, how much? It's 300. So here we have June. So for the month of June, we have 300. So if I draw a parallel line to this one, so this is, if it's not looking very accurate to you, that the width is not same, then just assume that these are same. My point is only to show you that the width of the bars should be same and how we have to plot that. Okay, so this shows that in the month of June the car sale is how much? 300. And then for the month of July it's 100. So if I draw something like this, just to show you that how we draw it properly. So if my, okay, this step can be done by you using a scale. That will be the perfect one. You'll not make any mistake. So if it is asked to you to draw bar graph or bar diagram, then always use a scale to draw this end point of the bar. That should be according to this data. So this is for the month of, this is for the month of July. Then for the month of August we have 400. So for the month of August we have, is it better? Yeah, much better. So for the month of August we have 400, and then for the month of September what we have 300. So it should be similar to something like this. Okay, so here we are. For the month of May, it was 200. So the tip or the end point of a bar will be at 200. Then in the month of June, it's 300. So the tip or the end point of the bar is at the 300. For July, it's at 100. Then for the month of August, it's at 400. And then in the month of September, it's again at what? At 300. So this is the way to represent the bar graph or the bar diagram. Always remember about the scale. Always remember about the scale. That is the unit length. Scale is what? The unit length. And the unit length should be chosen very wisely and properly. It should be used smartly to represent your data. Like in this case, you can clearly see that it's in the multiples of what? It's in multiples of 100, right? So there's no point that I use my unit length as of 10, right? 0 to 10, then 10 to 20, then 20 to 30, then 30 to 40, 40 to 50, 50 to 60, of no use because my data is starting from 100, right? So there's no point of taking either unit length of 10 or even in the unit length of 50 also, because it's not like we don't have any data that has 450 or 150 or 350. There's nothing like that. So we need not to take even like 0 to 50, then 50 to 100, then 100 to 150. It's not like that. So it's all the multiple of 100. So 100, 200, 300, 400. This is very important. And in this case, our bar, all of the bars are projected or placed vertically. Now, if you remember, just few minutes back, I told you that your bars can be placed even horizontally. So is there any way that we can represent this data using the bar graph where bars are placed or projected horizontally? Yes, of course we can. Let me show you that. So same thing, I'm just showing you here. So okay, I need some space, so what can be done? No issues, I'll manage here. So this is this is 100, this is 200, this is 300, and this is 400, this is 500. I'm just stopping at 500 because our data requires only up to 400, and I'll write months here. It's always important to mention what the lines are actually representing. So you can see that now in this case I have months on the horizontal line, and in this case the months, sorry, this is not months, it's car sales, I'm sorry. It's car sales. So in the first bar graph, the car sales information was given on the vertical line. In this case, the car sales information is being given on the horizontal line. And now I'm going to interchange the position of the months also. So I'm going to place months now on this vertical line. So my May will come here. My May will come here. My June will come here. Let me take some space. So my June will come here. My July will come here. August will be here. And the September will be here. So for the month of May, it is 200. So month of May, it's 200. I'll draw something like this. And so this is for the month of May. Okay. Then for the month of June, it's 300. So for the month of June, it's 300. Okay. Then for the month of July, it's 100. So if using scale, you can draw it very properly. I'm just using my rough hand to show you this data. So for the month of July, it's 100. Okay. Then for the month of August, we have 400. So for the month of August, we have just assume that it's a straight parallel line to this one, right? We have draw parallel. So for the month of August, we have 400. And then for the month of September we have 300. So for the month of September we have this 300. Okay, so this is what we have drawn here, and it's actually representing the same data. You can clearly see that in the first graph or diagram, the months was on the horizontal line, and in this case the months is on the vertical line. In this first diagram or the graph, the car sales was on the vertical line, and in this case we have interchanged the position and we have placed the car sales on the horizontal line. Like it has been rotated, right? Changed the position. But they are showing the same information. They are representing the same data. That's for the months, what were the car sales. So in this case, the bars were placed vertically. In this case, the bars were placed horizontally. We took care of a scale. Scale represents what? The unit length. The unit length should be same, and you have drawn the perpendicular lines. So this is about, you know, the basic of the bar graph or the bar diagram, right? Even if this data, if let me remove this data. Let me remove this data and just assume that you were not knowing this data, so that you could draw this diagram, and only this diagram was given initially to you. Let's suppose that this diagram was given to you, and now it is being asked that can you fill this data, this table, using this graph? Of course we can. We know that the tip or the end point tells what? The number representing, that will represent for this month May. So for May, the bar goes till here, and we can clearly see that it's the end point is coming, you know, parallel to what? To the 200 point, right? It's just opposite against the point, the number 200. So for the month, it's 200. I'll write 200 here. What's the sale in the month of June? June is here. The bar travels all up to here, and this end point or the tip of the bar is against what? 300. Okay, let me fill it 300 here. This is July bar. So the end point or the tip of the July comes against to what? Is placed against to 100 point. So this is 100. For the month of August, my bar goes all up to here. The end point or the tip is at what? It's at 400. So I'll write 400 here. If I look at this one, so the bar goes all up to here. It's to the same level of the month of June, and June is at the same level of 300. So it's 300 here. So now you saw that using the table we can draw the bar graph or the bar diagram, and even using the bar graph or bar diagram, even if we are not knowing about the information stored in the table, we can write the information in the table, we can show the data, right? So this is all about the basics of bar graph and bar diagram.